For Crema Media's Polity, I'm Sane Dlamini. Researcher and analyst Professor Raymond Suttner joins me to discuss the attacks on foreign nationals. Welcome, Raymond.
Thank you. Morning.
In your column, you address the fact that there is little concern for the plight of those who are the recipients of assault and looting. What should be done to manage the situation better?
You know, it's not just a management question. It's not just a question of shifting police around. What we've got to do is analyze the situation properly and recognize that this is not a case of food that's being sold that's expired or people who don't have permits. In previous columns that I wrote, I mentioned the situation where looting happened within a short time in about 3 shopping centres, which were a few miles away. And what it meant is there needed to be transport to take the looters from one place to another. And what is happening is that the business competition of the foreign businesses is hitting the local people. It's a bit like Uber, you know. Some South African companies are developing their own app. It's not difficult to develop an app, but a lot of them prefer to attack the Uber people. Now, in this case, what we do know is that the methods of conducting business on the side of the foreign nationals are cheaper, result in cheaper prices. Secondly, the communities find they can come home from work at 7 o'clock. These shops are still open. Even 9 o'clock, they're still open. They get credit, a whole lot of things. In some cases, you know, I've read people's research on this. Some cases, the shopkeepers are abused. For example, someone goes in there, I read in some paper, someone goes in there and he says, "Can I have this?" So the chap brings this, and then he says, "No, I want that." Then he brings that, he says, No, put it back. And you know, there's a lot of this, they have to stand for a lot of abuse because they see themselves as vulnerable, but there are large sections of the population who like their thing. So my answer is not managing it. My answer is, as long as the ideas of freedom are not diffused amongst the population, South Africa belongs to all who live in it, not just all who are citizens. And all have freedom, all have rights. All those rights are theirs as well as ours. And unless we start to really believe in these things, not just use them as rhetoric, and we diffuse it. You see, there was a time when the ANC had very well developed a political education system. I was very involved in that, but you had in Gauteng, for example, they were conducting political education, giving people certificates and all of this. Now that would have covered these things. So people would have the ideas, but you know, you can say, okay, they've got all the ideas, but that doesn't prevent them from acting like pigs or whatever you want to say. So it's also an ethical thing that role models in organizations need to be people who are admirable. People like Lutuli, Tambo, Sisulu, Mao Sisulu, all these people were people you could look up to and learn from. We haven't got that type of leadership.
You also addressed the issue of foreign nationals being always accused of taking jobs that South Africans think they belong to them. What kind of jobs are we talking about here?
Look, I'm not supporting, I'm just reporting that people do say that, and I don't have the research in front of me, but what a lot of the research indicates is foreign nationals create jobs, like when they have a shop they create jobs for people to come and work in these places. Secondly, the jobs that foreign nationals take. If you go and look in this area here, I would guess that 90% of the waiters are from Zimbabwe. And the thing is that people who are prepared to work long hours, because being a waiter is a long hour, and not get paid as well as you should get paid, are those who are desperate. And it's not South Africans who take those jobs. I was told at one of these steakhouses that Home Affairs had said to them something about reducing the numbers of foreign nationals, and my understanding is it was illegal from Home Affairs because the people had their, it wasn't a case of people having their papers. Other thing that happens is that now where they do prefer foreign nationals over others is when the foreign nationals don't have papers, because then at the end of the month they don't pay them, they dismiss them, and they know the foreign nationals will not go to the police about it. So I don't think there's strong evidence that they're taking jobs away.
Can we blame our government from not being hands-on on the situation?
Hands-on is like a policing term. What I'm saying is we can blame our government because it did not want to use the word xenophobia at one stage, because they didn't want to recognize, they said this is just criminality. But it's a special type of criminality which does not recognize that all people are equal in this country. And that is fundamental to what the liberation struggle was about. And these people are turning their back on that struggle. They should be ashamed of it. Instead, I remember on Facebook one of these ministers saying very anti-foreigner things. They're very careless, very irresponsible, because they don't care about other human beings. That is the center of the ethics that I'm saying are being violated. People are not caring about their neighbors who happen to be Somali or whatever it is. That is something we can't afford to allow.
Let's also look at what COPE leader Musiwa Lekota recently said, because he came under fire for saying that refugee camps are the best way to deal with the influx of refugees. What is your take on that statement?
You know, look, I go a long way with Terry Lakota. I haven't spoken to him about this. I don't want to get into a discussion with him about it. I don't know why he says this. He's come from a tradition, which is a freedom charter tradition. I don't know why he says this. And I don't even want to make jokes about what it is like when you argue with Terry Lakota. He's very obstinate. But the thing is, I don't think this is something to joke about. I don't know how he can have a solution like that as a humanist to put people in camps.
Let's end on a positive note, because in your column you also address the fact that there is some sensitivity that has been shown in attempts to reduce tensions, especially in the Western Cape. And you've quoted from an article where foreign nationals were helping local people. Can you elaborate?
Yeah, that's not government. That's not government. So it's not a. It's like a. It's a positive note, but this is now about 3 years ago. And it's not so significant. But what happened is, from the Somali community, one of the things that people always said is that these people are driving us out of business, and the Somalis met with some of the local shopkeepers, and they explained to them how they do things. You see, what they do is that a number of them come from the same village or something like that. They then go and buy together, or they put their money into buying a truck. They then go and buy at some, I don't know, Macro's the cheapest place, Macro or one of these other places. And consequently, they can sell their goods cheaper than the other shops, among other things, and the hours they work and all of that. Now, I don't know whether that lasted the cooperation and whether it translated into less tensions. So I don't know how positive a note it is. The positive note must come from government setting an example that they will not tolerate this, and they have not set that example.
Thank you, Raymond.
Thank you.
That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Creamer Media's Polity about the attacks on foreign nationals.